What's your personal experience with your personal content helping your business?
Yeah, I mean, personal content is a very interesting topic, and I think some people maybe looking from the outside in might think it takes away from your professional work, but I'm very much on the opposite side. I think that there's a lot of benefits of it. Like personally for myself, one is, let's take a look. Like over this past year, I probably put out, 150 posts, probably actually 200 plus posts on Instagram.
That's nuts to think about.
And every single time I'm making one of those pieces of content, I might be trying a new technique or a different camera setting or a different effect or a different audio effect or anything, right? And so all of those things only benefit my professional work. It's going to help me become a faster editor or know my camera settings better or, the list goes on and on, right? But I think as long as you don't obviously have it affect your time while you're doing your professional work, I'm not working on personal stuff during work hours or anything like that. And we can talk about some of the ways that I do that, like batch shoot on the weekend, scheduled posts, all that kind of stuff. But I think as long as it doesn't actually affect your hours that you're working on your professional stuff, to me, the sky's the limit with how many ways it can benefit you.
How do you batch a lot, or do you like to stay real time?
I think in a dream world, my schedule can be a little tricky with travel and everything else, but I'm pretty good at keeping it consistent. And something I've been doing even more the last few months is if I know I'm going to be traveling a week, I'll for sure batch stuff that weekend beforehand. And I don't have an exact posting schedule. I'm not saying I have to post every single day or whatever, right? But I would like to at least get multiple posts up a week. A dream world would be 3 to 5 actual posts if I can, roughly every other day. But it just kind of depends a little bit.
With batching content, one thing I've personally struggled with is if I get too far ahead, then I go into the day and I'm like, man, this video I just worked so hard isn't going to come out for 3 weeks. So have you struggled with that? Have you had times where you're 2 months planned where you're I'm going to post once a week?
Honestly, yeah, that can definitely be kind of challenging. I think something for myself is usually I only go out maybe a week, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And so I think I don't always feel that. But I think for myself, a lot of times it ends up being a weekend day. So a Saturday or Sunday. I've actually found a lot of benefits in it because we all know when you set up to create content, a lot of times that can be some of the most time consuming part, setting up your lights, cleaning your space, filming whatever, right? And so a lot of times if I'm doing all this work to then film literally a 12-second Instagram reel, I might as well film a few of them while everything's already set up. And I very much do the thing where I change outfits, change what I'm drinking on my desk, everything, so that it looks like it's a different day and everything like that, but it kind of just keeps the story going. But, I film all this stuff in maybe 2 or 3 hours. And then, because it's a lot easier for me to edit whenever throughout the week if stuff's already been shot. Because usually the shooting part takes the most time or the most challenging part for me, especially if I'm traveling or gone like that. But that way, I don't know, today, this morning, I woke up and I wanted to get a piece of content out today, and I knew I didn't batch shoot anything beforehand, so I had nothing right. And so I just shot something on my phone, one take in my office, and then I edited it on the train ride to the way to work and scheduled it to post. You know what I mean? And it's at, I don't know, it'll be probably at 10 or 15K before I go to bed. So
yeah, it's funny how that works. Sometimes the ones that you put the least amount of effort into are going to be the ones.
And it's interesting because actually a lot of my stuff is very, very polished, but something I've been doing recently is including things that are less polished, because the way I look at it is TikTok is more successful, which everyone has their own theories, but a lot of TikTok stuff that works feels less produced. And a lot of my stuff feels pretty produced, I think. And I think that works a lot easier on Instagram. But I've just kind of, for time-wise and also just my own mental health, I've been doing some videos that might be quote-unquote easier for me to film, and they're being just as successful as the stuff that takes me hours and hours to do. So I think it's kind of a balance for maybe your community, but also for your own mental health as well.
What do you find your balance is between making a video of maybe, this is short form specific, you just talking or cutting to a trending sound? Which one do you enjoy more? And what do you think? Which one do you think really ends up benefiting you more?
That's a good question. These days, most everything I'm doing at least has some sort of a trending sound. I found a lot of success with that, at least on the Instagram side of things. TikTok, I'm still trying to figure out exactly the perfect way. I think trending sounds used to be a lot more important on TikTok. I think it's less now, but on Instagram, it's kind of like things are working, so I just want to like keep it going. You know what I mean? But sometimes, at least I figured out the style that I'm shooting at these days, where I can kind of have a general concept, film it, and then I can find a trending sound that will just work, or maybe add the text or whatever, right? But then also on the flip side, some days if I know I want to like shoot some content, I'll scroll, find some stuff that, is kind of like, oh, I could put a cool spin on this or whatever, save that, and then make a video based off that. But right now, I try to hit like a trending sound.
Yeah, I think TikTok is actually fading more towards, since I think there's been a lot of talk of it being a search engine now.
Yeah.
And in the past few days with my videos, I've noticed, whenever you go in the comments and then in the search bar, it gives you like a recommended search.
Yep.
If you can tap into a search there, then it really grows. So for example, my 49ers video that I posted, it tapped into a it said Brock Purdy in the search bar. And the video I saw go from about 1,000 views to like 15,000 views, I think it's at now. And it was as soon as it hit that search. So it means that I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think it is that search is trending and you're part of the trending search.
I think that does make sense. Because I recently had like a video do well on TikTok, and it was like literally the most basic video of one of my cameras. And I think I made it, the caption as well as like the hashtags, very searchable. And it kind of then, once it clicked and it got 100K or whatever, it made sense in my head. I'm like, well, yeah, no duh, like it's searchable. You know what I mean? But like, again, there's a balance there, right? Because not every single piece of content I'm going to put out is like camera or home office, because then it's like, your community is going to be like, dude, do something else.
Where did you experience your most growth on YouTube specific?
YouTube. So I actually have very little success currently with YouTube when it comes to short form. So all of my growth has been like pretty much specifically off of long form content over the last 2 years. But one of my
like the first burst of growth, what?
Like my big first hit of growth that I would say from YouTube I got was, see, how long ago was it now? Like a year and a half ago. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I did a video on like the new iPad mini.
Yeah.
And I think it was something that I was passionate about. And I think it was a product that not all the huge tech people immediately went after. And so I think it was just kind of like the perfect storm of something I was interested in. I made a really good video about it. Not maybe a ton of competitors did at the same time. So I think it just kind of spiked and hit a good amount of views. And so that kind of opened the doors with me into like doing more and more stuff based off of tech and a similar style and strategy and all that kind of stuff.
Do you enjoy making the tech videos?
I very much do. I think tech is at least more interesting to me than like some other piece of content. And I think it's because a lot of people can relate to it, because if I'm talking about, let's say, a MacBook, right? It's not like, oh, hey, I'm only a sports photographer. It's me saying, this is the piece of equipment I use, and whoever uses it for anything, right? Like whether you be a web designer or a chef or a YouTuber, you're going to be using the same piece of equipment to do a bunch of different things. So it is like a niche, but it also opens it up to a very wide range of people.
Yeah, it's so broad whenever you do something like an iPad or a laptop, because creatives want it, but also your dad might be looking for a laptop.
Totally.
You never know.
Well, and I think that's kind of like what you do too, right? Because like you have your niche of like some of the NFL stuff, but also like you're showing and telling people how to use camera or how to shoot for like anything, right? Like it's not just about that. Like it opens the door up to a lot of things.
Yeah. So going back more to your balance between work and your personal content, I see these photos of you around the office where those are also your personal content. Is that something that you've kind of brought into the environment of Ghost, where everybody wants a couple of photos of themselves? How did that even begin?
The BTS
Whenever
from the
you're
office?
just like, yeah, the BTS in the office, you guys are just chilling.
So it's actually, it wasn't like my idea. I forget exactly how it all started. I think there was, when I started with Ghost, is around the same time. There were some other brands like showing behind the scenes in various ways, right? And one of the things that Ghost has been doing since day one was doing, they actually call it like building the brand. It's like the YouTube series, and we put out a YouTube video like roughly once a week for the past like 6 years. So we've always been a company that's very showing behind the scenes, or kind of like the biggest fans kind of see the biggest sneak peeks. Mm-hmm. And so we just decided to kind of bring it over to the Instagram side of things as well, where it's just, I mean, every single day now for the past like almost year, we're putting out daily behind the scenes of the office or a shoot going on or whatever's happening. But I definitely can't take credit for it being like my idea, but me and like our team are the ones that like usually execute it.
No, I just think it's cool because I think it both taps into Ghost and for your personal, because whenever I like a creator, when I just like somebody that I follow on social, if they post the everyday stuff, I genuinely enjoy that. Like we were talking about raw versus polished content. If there's a creator that makes these beautiful videos, I want to see the behind the scenes of them coming up with the next idea, the behind the scenes of them actually going through the process to get there, because not everything's that polished.
Well, it kind of makes you feel more real.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because my content that I post, at least most of the time, is going to be pretty polished. That's just who I am as a creator. But, you know, it's kind of cool for the people that like are really big fans of you, or maybe really big supporters. Like, I'll post a BTS photo of me working in my office at midnight on a Saturday, and it might be like a mess or whatever, right? And it's something that people can relate to. And I think that's something that I learned this past year as well, is like being relatable is also really important to a community. And especially like for a brand side of things, if all you're doing is posting, here's a product, like people are just going to become numb to that and not care. And so I think it's just, you just kind of peel back a layer and let people like in a bit. And it's very successful for, I think, a brand standpoint, but also like a personal creator as well. Like if you think of one of your favorite creators out there, like you would love to see like what their office looks like while they're working, or, you know, what what drink are they drinking that day, or like what does their breakfast look like, or did they hit the gym or whatever, right? And so it just kind of adds an element that I don't think everyone does, but there's so many benefits.
Yeah. My girlfriend messes with me all the time. I listen to so many podcasts, and whenever I listen to one and they might give a piece of advice, or they'll say something that I've heard before, but it's the person I care about saying it. So it means so much more. And I think it's so valuable to have that kind of community where people care about that. People care about your day to day. And I think somebody that does it perfect is someone we're both a fan of, is Mike, who taps into the day-to-day stuff with his raw videos promoting his music and things like that. I just think it's so important to show that day-to-day, because if you have real fans, they want to see it.
Totally. I recently saw a TikTok from this chick who, I think she's around like 100K followers, and she posted something on like about how her Instagram growth over the past 5 years, she's only gained like 5,000 followers. But like her numbers and conversions and how she can leverage so much money from like brands or deals or whatever, it's because her community is like absurdly strong. And the way she said it is, she is like obnoxious on her stories. She posts everything she does all day long about everything. A lot of things that people probably wouldn't care about. And she said, you know, that's probably deterred a lot of people away from it. But the people that are really into her and her lifestyle or whatever loved seeing every single thing she's doing. So although her like big numbers haven't grown a ton, she can show, you know, maybe she's trying to get a sponsorship or something, show someone the proof of her conversion, and it's like way better than someone with 1 million followers.
I saw a creator doing that on TikTok recently, where it was a daily vlog, but every clip was a separate video, which was so interesting to me, because you think about how TikTok even works. If you like a video, it might get fed you again, but on YouTube, somebody might post a video today and then the next video they post will also get fed to me. TikTok, I don't see nearly all of your videos that you post. And that's just how it works. But it was confusing to me how somebody who's posting a daily vlog, but all separately on TikTok, it was performing really well. She was posting like 20 videos a day.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.